cracking gang? It's T Nasty, and I'm back with another banger for you guys. And yes, that's right, your eyes are not deceiving you. I am back once again for the second time this week. You know, it's your lucky day, it's your lucky week. I'm back on that grind. And the reason I'm here today is because I've been telling you guys that I know ball. And the reason I say that is because I have a very good track record with predicting UFC champions. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be going through and telling you guys all of the fighters that I knew would be champion. And I'm just going to be telling you guys all the guys that I just saw and I knew they would be champion, and they went on to do it. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to start out with the first one that I knew would be champion, and that's Tyron, the frozen one, Woodley. Now, we got to go back in the day for this one. This one is an OG pull for me. So back in the day, it was UFC 201 was whenever he won the belt. And, you know, I had my boy Nate come out and watch the fights with me. You know, Nate, I know you're watching this. Let him know down in the comments. But I told him that Tyron Woodley from St. Louis, I knew he would be champion. And he was fighting Robbie Lawler. And, dude, let me tell you, whenever he knocked Robbie out in like 30 seconds, dude, we got fucking absolutely hyped. You know, we woke the rents up. We were going crazy in the basement. Nate, let him know down there. We were so happy for my boy Tyron Woodley. And, you know, after he won the belt, you know, it didn't really go so well. You know, he kind of fell off after that. But for that one day, he was the best in the world at 170, representing St. Louis. And I just knew he would be champion. You know, I had to rock with my boy, and he pulled it off. So, yeah, that was the first time I ever predicted someone would be champion, and it came true. And that was the start of a great legendary run for me. Okay, so next one to talk about, we got my boy Cody No Love Garbrandt. Now, the first time I saw Cody Garbrandt fight, I think it was 2017, maybe 2018. It was whenever he was fighting Thomas Almeida in a fight night main event. And the reason I was watching this fight was because I was a huge Thomas Almeida fan. Now, this dude, he was super hyped up at the time. He was undefeated himself. And this honestly was a big spot for him. You know, it was honestly lined up for him to be the one to go on and win and go on a future title run. And, you know, we know how that went for my boy Thomas. But, you know, maybe one day I'll have to make another video, a follow-up to this about fighters that I thought would be champion but weren't. But regardless, that fight, it went on, and Cody Garbrandt went on and knocked out Thomas Almeida in like a minute or two in the very first round. And, you know, I knew from that day forward that he would go on to become the champion. I just didn't know it would happen so soon. You know, he literally fought Dominic Cruz in his next fight. I think he was ranked like 7 or 8 at the time, and he got the title shot. Pretty much just because he was, you know, friends with and trained with Uriah Faber. But, man, if you guys remember that fight, man, he absolutely dog-walked Dominic Cruz. He embarrassed him, made him look silly. He was dancing on him, taunting the whole time. He dropped him. And it was just a beautiful performance. Honestly, one of the best performances in UFC history. And, you know, the sad part is he fell off very hard after this fight. But we all remember that day. For one day in 2019, my boy Cody No Love Garbrandt, he was the GOAT. And then he just lost all of his brain cells, went on to get some terrible tattoos. And, you know, but for that one night, he was champion. And I just knew from the second I saw him knock out Thomas Almeida, I knew this guy would be fucking champion, and he pulled it off. So shout out to Cody No Love. Next one to talk about, my boy Charles do Bronx Oliveira, man. Listen, so the Charles Oliveira, I knew he'd been around the game for a long time, and, you know, he kind of had an up and down career. But whenever he got the fight night main event against Kevin Lee, and I watched him absolutely beat the shit out of Kevin Lee in an empty arena in Brazil. This was March of 2020. If you guys remember the very first COVID card, you know, before they had the Apex, before they were doing all the shit with the social distancing. This was literally that week when every store was out of toilet paper. And this event was supposed to be going down that weekend. And the UFC had to scramble, and basically they let the event go on just with 0 fans in the building. It was honestly really fucking surreal. And we literally heard everything as Charles Oliveira just absolutely dismantled Kevin Lee, beat his ass, and he choked him out in like the 3rd or 4th round. And that was just a beautiful performance. And I told my friends that day, if any of my friends are watching this video, you can let them know. But I told you guys in our group chat that this shit is probably still saved in the chat. I said Charles do Bronx Oliveira will be champion one day. Right after that fucking fight happened. I knew it. And he went on a crazy win streak after that. He beat the fuck out of Tony Ferguson. He ended up freaking beating Michael Chandler for the belt in 2022. This is a beautiful performance, man. It was very poetic. You know, you guys know I'm not a big Michael Chandler fan. And Charles just absolutely fucking beat his ass, knocked him out, and took the belt. And I just knew he would be champion. He went on a very good title run as well. Beat Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje in title defenses. And eventually lost to Islam, but it's still aging very well. I mean, this guy, he may or not get another title shot in the future. So shout out to Charles do Bronx Oliveira. The champion has a name, and I knew that Charles Oliveira would be champion. This one was a very good pick by me. I knew he would be fucking champion. Next one to talk about, we got my boy Sugar Sean O'Malley. Now, you guys know I love to glaze O'Malley, and I'm rocking the O'Malley champ shirt right now. But listen, so a lot of people hopped on the O'Malley bandwagon, right, around the time that he beat Peter Yan and went on to win the belt. I was with fucking Sean O'Malley from day fucking one, okay? Before he was even on the Contender Series. The first time I ever saw O'Malley fight, it was whenever, well, I didn't really watch the fight, but I saw the viral knockout whenever he KO'd, I think his name is Dave Nuzzo or something like that. And the LFA, he knocked him out with that spinning back kick. I know you guys have seen the clip. I might put it up on the screen, but the second I saw that fucking clip, I was like, oh, this dude is fucking him. I fucking love this guy. And then he got on the Contender Series. I remember I was watching season 1 of the Contender Series, episode 2. At this point, I didn't even know he was going to be on it. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is the dude from that crazy spin kick. And he fucking beat the dog water out of fucking Kasakian or whatever the hell that Russian dude's name is. He beat the fuck out of him, knocked him out in round 1. Snoop Dogg was going fucking crazy. And from that day, I knew I was going to ride with this guy till the fucking wheels fell off. And then he went on to just have a great UFC career. You know, he beat the fuck out of Terrion Ware. He beat the fuck out of Andre Sukumtoth. And then, you know, he had to take some time off, you know, because the Osterine thing, but we won't talk about that. But regardless, and then he came back from that long layoff. He knocked out Jose Quinones. He knocked out Eddie Wineland. And then he had the Cheeto fight, you know, which was a fucking fluke, as he proved in his title defense. But after that, he came back again. He knocked out Thomas Almeida. Shout out Thomas Almeida. Best base for becoming UFC champion is knocking him out. But yeah, he just went on a great title run. And from around that time, that's when I knew this guy, he's the best in the fucking world. I knew Sean O'Malley was the best striker in that division. I think he's one of the best strikers in the UFC still today. And I still think he's one of the best bantamweights in the world, regardless of what Merab did to him. And I just knew around that, especially whenever he beat Peter Yan, I was like, I know this guy's the fucking best in the world. And he fucking proved that night whenever he beat number 1 Peter Yan. And he was ranked like 11 or 12. Like, nobody does that. You know, usually when guys get those fights, they get fraud checked, but not Sean O'Malley, man. He fucking pulled it off. And then he went on to get the title fight, and he fucking knocked out Aljamain Sterling. I fucking knew this shit would happen, dude. I'll never forget that night when he won the belt, man. I was literally at my girlfriend's house. She was asleep. I'm in bed, literally like going fucking crazy when Sean O'Malley knocked him out. It was the biggest bet I ever hit. I literally won $200, and I thought I was fucking rich. It was like the best day of my life. And I just knew from day one that Sean O'Malley was my boy, and I knew he would be fucking champion. I knew he was champ level, and everybody loved to discredit him. They said he was a fraud. They said he was an industry plant. You know, it may or may not be true, but nobody can ever take away the fact that this guy was champion, and I fucking knew he would be champ from day one. I was rocking with Sean O'Malley. So shout out to Sugar Sean. He pulled it off. He proved everybody wrong. That's my fucking dog. Next one to talk about, Ilia, Topuria, El Matador, La Leyenda. Listen, I told you guys back in the day, if any of you guys are friends with me on Snapchat, you remember I used to always post like knockouts in my Snapchat story, and I'd be like, Belal Muhammad, remember the name? little spoiler, but I remember whenever Ilia Topuria, it was on the Apex prelims, I think, but he knocked the fuck out of Damon Jackson with a nasty ass fucking left hook to the body, nasty liver hook. And I posted that shit on my story. I said, Ilia Topuria, remember the name. I said, Ilia Topuria, this guy will be champion one day. And I knew from that fight forward, I was like, this guy is fucking real deal. This guy is championship material. And sure as hell, I was fucking right. Like, this dude honestly might be going on a generational GOAT run right now. Knocked out Volkanovski, knocked out Max Holloway, knocked out Charles Oliveira back to back to back. Like, he's fucking Drake. That shit was crazy, man. And I knew from day one this guy had the skills to pull that shit off. Like, this guy has crazy knockout power. And what people don't understand is Ilia Topuria actually is a grappler. Like, in his first, 10 fights, all his fights, he won by submission. And then he came to the UFC and just started getting fucking crazy boxing. And he just learned how to knock people the fuck out. And so I just love Ilia Topuria. This guy is really fun to watch. Really good boxing. Really crazy knockout power. And this guy just has plot armor. From day one, I knew this guy would be champion. And honestly, right now, he is the pound for pound number 1. And I think he's on track to be one of the greatest fighters of all time. And yeah, like I said, I just knew from day one. I said, Ilia Topuria, remember the name. And I was fucking right. Speaking of remember the name, the next guy to talk about, Belal, Bully B, remember the name, Muhammad. Now, this one I'm going to get some flack for. I know a lot of people love to hate on Belal. But I've been a Belal fan from the very beginning. Well, not the very beginning, but I hopped on the bandwagon. It was around 2020. You know, Belal Muhammad, he was the OG of farming the MMA Twitter attention. He had Remember the Show on the Anik Florian podcast, and I remember always watching that shit. You know, he would have Dustin Poirier, Paul Felder, guys like that on, and they would do random trivia and the face mask shit. And I just always liked Belal. I thought he was funny. I thought he was cool. And, you know, despite his grappling style, I thought he was pretty entertaining. You know, he does like to wrestle a lot, but he he's not like boring as fuck. I don't think like he puts a lot of pressure on, a lot of volume, and he has that like that weaponized cardio style, and I just love to see that. And I knew this guy was champ material, but everybody was hating on him, you know. And then it really picked up whenever he got that Leon Edwards fight on short notice. You know, if you guys remember main event Muhammad, that's when I really started to hop on the Belal bandwagon, and I thought he was gonna win that fight. Now we all know how that went, you know. He lost the first round, he got head kicked, and then he got eye poked, and it ended. And pretty much everybody just wrote him off. You know, they act like that was a win for Leon. But I knew if they were to rematch one day, I knew Belal would fucking take that shit. And so after that fight, he went on a win streak. He beat Gilbert Burns. He beat Vicente Luque. He beat Damian Maia. He beat Wonderboy. Dominated all of them. And then finally, they gave him his title shot after like a 9-fight unbeaten streak, 10-fight unbeaten streak, something like that. And he was getting the rematch against Leon Edwards for the belt. You know, it was written in the fucking stars. And I told everyone, I said, Belal, remember the name Muhammad, will be champion. You know, my boy Bedtime was fence sitting. He ended up picking Leon. Come on, Bedtime. But I knew Belal was going to win. And I remember watching this fight. So we were on the way back from Florida. I was watching the prelims like in the car in like fucking Tennessee. Right. And we got back to the house literally like right as the Patty's fight was ending. So I saw Tom Aspinall knock the fuck out of Curtis Blades. And then I got to watch this fight right after that. And so me and the girlfriend's dad were sitting there. And he was rooting for Leon hardcore. He didn't like Belal at all. For obvious reasons. But I knew Belal was going to win. And I was saying the whole time, I was like, nah, man, trust me, Belal. And what do you know? He went on to absolutely dog walk Leon Edwards, spiked him on his fucking head. That shit was absolutely beautiful. He dominated Leon. I don't care what anyone says. You know, Leon had that one round where he had his back, did literally no damage. And then he did get on top and cut him open at the very end of the fight, but that just wasn't enough to override the fact that he got absolutely dog walked and the piss beat out of him for 4.5 rounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, Belal Muhammad proved that night that first fight, it was a fluke. And had that eye poke not happened, he would have gone on to beat him that night, like I said. And like I told you guys, Belal Muhammad, I knew he was going to be champion from day one. And he went to pull it off. That's my boy. Shout out to Belal. Now, next one to talk about, this is the one in the thumbnail, boys. We got my boy JDM. Now, as you guys know, as I said on my Instagram, this week, I'm going to be pushing the JDM agenda hardcore. And this is another guy that I was rocking with from day one. The day that I saw this guy beat the brakes off of Ange Loosa on the Contender Series, I just knew this guy would be champion one day. You know, he genuinely has some of the best boxing I've ever seen in MMA. His hands are fucking so clean, so nice. And the best part about him is that his grappling is extremely underrated as well. Like, this guy has crazy scrambles. He's got submission ability. He's able to pull off a sub whenever he needs to. But he's able to like he doesn't accept position. You know, that's my favorite thing about him. Whenever you take him down, he's always trying to get back up. He's always trying to move to a different position, trying to find a way to get a sub or stand up again. And he's just always trying to put damage on people, crazy output. So yeah, I saw him beat up Ange Loosa on the Contender Series. And then he came in, he knocked out Pete Rodriguez, he knocked out Ramazan Ameev, he choked out Randy Brown. Shout out Randy Brown fighting this weekend. But, you know, it got a little rocky after that. He had the split decisions against Basil Hafez and Kevin Holland. And then he finally got his first big test against Gilbert Burns. And, you know, he honestly was losing that fight. He was getting out-grappled for 2 rounds. But then, you know, he had to unlock the JDM agenda, the JDM plot armor. And, you know, he had to end up being champion like I said he would. And so he pulled out the victory from the brinks of hell, hit him with that nasty-ass knee and some crazy ground and pound, and finished Gilbert Burns in round 3 like he had to, because I told you guys he was going to be champion. And what do you know? He went on to get the title fight against my boy Belal. Now, to find someone who can beat Belal, we need a young, hungry guy who has killer instinct and can push a pace. Hear me out, guys. Jack Della Maddalena. We saw in Jack's last fight against Gilbert Burns that he has no quit in him. Even after getting taken down, he can get up and has the ability to do damage. I think Belal will certainly take him down, but we know Belal won't be able to get a submission or TKO him or anything like that, so Jack will definitely be able to get up. I think in the later rounds, 3, 4, 5, Jack will start putting combos together and piece Belal up. I actually feel like this is one that would be a great matchup for Jack. Like, I don't even know if this is a hear me out, but Belal likes to box a little bit, so I think he'll get picked apart on the feet and get desperate, eventually getting TKO'd with an uppercut. I know most people will be backing Shavkat to get the title shot, and don't get me wrong, I'm on the Shavkat train till the wheels fall off, but I think Giacomo Della Maddalena will be the one to defeat Belal Muhammad and become welterweight champ. Oh, now, I love this fight. I was very happy to see this fight because there's 2 of my favorite fighters in the welterweight division. And, you know, I love Belal. I knew he would be champion one day, but I also knew that JDM would as well, so I knew JDM had to beat him. And, you know, shout out JDM fighting this weekend against Islam. I'm really riding my boy. I need him to win, because I have a bet on him to be champion on December 31st, placed in January before he even won the fucking belt. And I just knew this guy would be fucking champion one day, and he fucking pulled it off big time. He absolutely beat the brakes off of Belal. Stuffed almost all the takedowns, put a lot of fucking volume on him, did a lot of fucking damage. I mean, look at this flying knee he landed on him. Shit was fucking nasty. Shout out JDM, man. I knew this guy would be fucking champion. I was telling you guys from day one, I said JDM, Jack Della Maddalena, that's my fucking boy. I've been riding with him from the beginning, and I just knew. I knew he would be champion. All right, next one to talk about, last one. The most recent one, my boy Khamzat Chimaev. Now, listen, from fucking, I honestly didn't even know who he was before he showed up on Fight Island randomly. And I saw him just absolutely fucking dominate. I think it was John Phillips is who he fought in his debut. And I was like, holy fuck. I was like, this guy is fucking good. I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to stop this guy's grappling. But, you know, at the time, you know, it was against an absolute fucking bum. I mean, I doubt any of you guys even know who John Phillips is. So I was like, you know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then, what do you know? He took another fight not even a week later. That first fight was on a Wednesday, and then his next fight was on a Saturday. Or maybe it was vice versa. It was on a Saturday, something like that. Like, this guy literally fought twice in the span of a week. And he did the exact same fucking thing. Up a weight class. Or no, it was down a weight class. He cut down to 170 and fought Reese McKee. And he did the exact same fucking thing. He beat the fucking shit out of Reese McKee. That shit was absolutely insane, and I knew from that day. I was like, oh my god. I was like, yeah, no one's stopping this guy. This guy is fucking crazy good. His grappling, no one's going to be able to handle him on the ground. And it turned out to be fucking true. Only a couple guys have been able to do it. Shout out Gilbert Burns. Shout out Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, who does that to Gilbert Burns, man? I mean, Khamzat couldn't finish him, but JDM could. I mean, what does that say about JDM? But regardless, Khamzat Chimaev, I just knew from day one no one could handle this guy on the ground. He knocked out Gerald Meerschaert in literally 20 seconds. One punch knocked out Gerald Meerschaert, a 40-fight UFC veteran. Okay, no one else has been able to do that to Gerald Meerschaert. Now, I mean, I know he's not that good, but nobody else has been able to do that to him. And just, I knew this guy would be champion. I knew he had what it took to pull off the belt. He just had to get to there. He you know, the worst part was, you know, after those first few fights, he started fighting like once a year. You know, he finally came back. He beat the brakes off of Li Jingliang. Gave him a tour of the octagon, absolutely ragdolled him. And then, you know, after that, it was basically like one fight every year. He had the Gilbert Burns fight. He had the Robert Whittaker fight. Like, all these fights were like a year apart. Kevin Holland fight. I mean, the Nate Diaz situation, you know. He just had a lot of setbacks keeping him from the belt. But I knew this guy would be champion. I said in 2020, this guy would be a 3-weight world champion. You know, if you guys go back in the vault on my Twitter, I was literally arguing with people on Twitter about Khamzat being champion. And, you know, they were trying to discredit him. And I was like, no. I was like, this guy's a fucking beast. I promise you. And what do you know? He finally gets to the fucking title fight in my home state, Illinois and Chicago. I really wanted to be there, but I was not going to sell my soul and pay $500 for nosebleed tickets. But regardless, I got to see it on TV, and he dominated DDP. Let's be honest. You know, that shit was kind of boring, but DDP had literally nothing for him. He looked like a fucking amateur on the ground out there against Khamzat. And that's basically just how I knew his career would go. I knew that nobody could handle him on the fucking ground. Like, he literally, he choked out Robert Whittaker in round 1, ragdolled Kevin Holland, freaking took down and pretty much dominated Kamaru Usman on the ground. You know, it was a split decision, and Kamaru was one of the few that were able to actually, like, grapple with him and do, like, okay, but, like, he pretty much dominated Kamaru, like, dominated DDP. Like, he's beat the fuck out of some of the best grapplers in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? And I just knew, and like I said, I thought he'd be 3 world champion. I thought he would do it at 170, 185, 205. It's not really looking likely at this point. Like, I would be very surprised if he was able to make it back down to 170. But I do think this guy will be 2-weight world champion, and I do think he will be number 1 pound for pound within a year. I think maybe 1 or 2 more fights, and this guy will be pound for pound number 1. I think this is the best fighter in the UFC right now, in my humble opinion. And yeah, I mean, his striking is like so-so. But grappling-wise, nobody can fucking touch this guy, in my opinion. I think this is the best grappler in the UFC, hands down, and the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter. And like I said, I knew he would be champion from day fucking 1, and I was fucking right. It took way longer than I thought to get there, but my boy Khamzat fucking pulled it off. So shout out to Khamzat Chimaev, proving me right, just like all these other guys. And so like I said, guys, you know, I know ball, and this right here just proves it. You know, I knew all of these guys would be champion. I was rocking with most of these guys from day fucking 1 when they came in the UFC. And like I said, you guys just got to start trusting me. Whenever I tell you to believe in a prospect, believe in that fucking prospect, because 7, maybe 8 times out of 10, those guys will go on to be UFC champion. And yeah, this just proves that I know ball, and you guys got to start listening to me. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, hype the video, share this shit on Facebook, become a member, create a second account, and then repeat those steps for me. And if you're not doing those things, you are just a straight up fucking casual with all due respect. All due respect. You got to be a hardcore and subscribe to this channel. We're on the road to 250. I'll beg if I have to, please just go down and hit that subscribe button. It's real easy. Helps a brother out big time. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. I'm out. Take it easy, gang.